Well, Johnny, MVPs that homer together win together, and that's what happened last night in Anaheim. Also, why have the Angels suffered with so many injuries this season? Well, did you know that Max Scherzer happens to know? And who's going to buy the Halos? We actually have two names that we're interested in and that
Us?
they're interested in, and it's not us, no.
Oh.
But you are locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Would you give us a rate and a review? This helps people to find the pod. You can do that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops.
What's going on? Thank you for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
What a win we got last night against the Detroit Tigers. And man, that Angels offense and defense and pitching, they had it firing on all cylinders. But we got to talk about the offense because they won this game 10-0, Michael.
Yes, they did. 16 hits. They had 16 hits, I think, in August or maybe July. It's what it felt like, right? And Shohei Ohtani led the way. Two home runs, Johnny. He's at 32 right now. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I think he's the MVP. But if he gets to 35 home runs or if he gets to 40 home runs, he's the MVP. He's got to be the MVP. I can't see why you wouldn't give it to him because the guy is putting up incredible numbers and it almost as close to his offensive numbers last year. And so I think he's the MVP. Don't question me on that. I'm going to fight you on that because this guy is having such an incredible season. And then speaking of MVPs, Mike Trout, a 3-time MVP, he hit his 30th last night. It's his 7th season with 30 or more home runs with the Halos. He is the Angel leader there. Number 2, Jon, do you know who number 2 is?
No.
Timmy Salmon. He had 5.
That's right.
Five
right. He
seasons
had to surpass him.
Yep.
He surpassed him 2 years ago. That's right.
He did. Passing the fish.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And then, Johnny, a great pitching performance last night.
Yeah.
The grossest, most annoying stat is that this was our 17th shutout. We're tied with the Mets. And I hate that stat because we are, 16 games under 500, and yet our pitching staff is remarkable. Talk about Jose and how he looked last night.
Jose Suarez just looked locked in, and man, with 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, that is a perfect start from Jose Suarez, considering he's had trouble getting length in his previous starts. Man, these guys are pitching so much more efficiently these days, and it's great to see. I know it was the Tigers, but look, at the end of the day, there are people who can hit the ball on the other side of the field, and it's not an easy job to be a pitcher. And Jose Suarez has proved time and time again that he's a great starter. In fact, he did that last week as well. So I really just think that he's locked in for next year as part of this rotation. I know there was kind of a question mark coming into this season because we did see some good things from him last season, but I think he's here to stay, and I think he's doing a great job. I've been really impressed with him, and he seems so much calmer on the mound. He was even able to laugh at himself by palming that ball over to first base. And he didn't get mad at himself. He just kind of smiled. He flashed that great smile he's got, Mr. El Demente, and he really looked like El Demente up on the mound. Mike, our friend over at Rocks in the Outfield, they have a friend over there, Pete Soto, noted on Twitter that the first season to have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani each have 30 home runs in the same season this year. How about that?
That's right. Wow, man. Again, it's just what could have been for this season, right?
Yeah.
Because they're having incredible offensive seasons, and Ohtani's great on the mound. I was really proud of Suarez. 1 walk, Johnny, just 1 walk. That's why he's able to get some length. John, is it because these games technically don't matter, and that's why Suarez actually looks a whole lot better? Or is it because he's improving? What does your fan heart tell you?
I think every game matters to these guys, but then you have the going out against tough teams at the end of this season too. I mean, you got games against the Astros and the Yankees and the Blue Jays and all of these teams that are contending and in contention right now. And even though it's the Tigers, I still think we would have gotten this performance out of Suarez against a tougher team.
Sure.
And
okay.
And maybe perhaps he would have got hit a bit more. Maybe he would have given up a run or here or there, but he just looked locked in, locked on. He just looked locked in last night. And every single start seems to get better and better and better for Jose Suarez. It feels like the last 2 months of his starts have been great. I mean, gosh, there was a time where we were questioning, like, does he need to be in the rotation? Should we have somebody else be there?
Is he a long reliever?
He's in AAA. Yeah. Yep. So just to come out and be good and doing the things that he's doing, like I said, I think Jose Suarez is here to stay. I don't think it's an effect of not playing good teams. And perhaps you're right. Like, the pressure is off to just go out there and pitch well and pitch the way you know how to. And Jose Suarez is certainly doing that on the mound.
Okay, so next year, top 4, Ohtani, Detmers, Sandoval, Suarez? Is that your starting rotation?
For me, Suarez is a strong 5th, and I think that we're going to need another arm. We're going to need somebody to bring into the team and pay them well and give Ohtani the pitching support that he deserves, because Sandoval has had a great year, even though the wins and losses don't show it. The numbers and the statistics are there for Sandoval. Reed Detmers, I know he had a clunker against the Astros, but he's somebody who can certainly find it again in his next start, and he probably will. And that comes against the Astros at the end of the week. And then, of course, Jose Suarez. I mean, a 4th or 5th, but I think if they get another arm, it's going to bump him down in that rotation, 6-man rotation. And I said this earlier this season, Jose Suarez had been performing like the perfect 6th man in a rotation. Somebody that you can go out there and trust to get you through 5 innings at least, but he's doing better than that now. And I think that if you get an additional arm that's going to be solid and back up Ohtani very well in that rotation, the Angels are in good shape pitching-wise in terms of the starting rotation. And I would love to see Lorenzen come back, because I know that he didn't get to pitch for us very much because of the shoulder. He's going to be back soon. But if we got a starter even more solid than that, then this rotation is definitely locked in come 2023.
Well, coming up on Locked On Angels, who's interested in buying the Angels besides John and I? We're going to give you 2 names, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by Built Bar. Have you tried the new cookie dough chunk puff? If you're watching on YouTube, there it is, my friends.
Hey, give it a little crinkle for the audio side here.
There it is. You hear that? You hear that?
Oh, there you go.
It's delicious. The cookie dough chunk puff. Man, it's light, and it's got a chewy texture with real cookie dough chunks on the very top. And of course, it's covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. And I can't make it at all. I have people that make it and then they don't let me actually eat it. I have a tough life, first world problems, but it's also healthy for you. That's what's great about Built Bars. Only 160 calories. They have a whopping 16 grams of protein. So it does fill you up if you want to use it, maybe as a treat, or you can use it maybe to skip a meal, and that could be your lunch. It's really, really good for you. You can go to built.com to snag a box for you and maybe a box for your family, because they're going to eat it too. They're going to love it. Built Bars and Puffs are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides a ton of health benefits. And it actually really tastes good as well. I will affirm that. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. And so whether you need a snack or a late night treat, or you just need to grab a quick bite, Built is perfect for you. They taste better than any candy bar, and you can ditch the calories, the fat, and the sugar. So grab a Built Bar or a Built Puff today at Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKEDON15 and you get 15% off of your order. Again, Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKEDON15. Go to Built.com today.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, we want to talk a little bit about the injury bug that's kind of plagued MLB this season. In fact, the New York Post shared a story last week about the frequency of injuries happening to players this season. It's been a rough time for all of MLB. And then, of course, us specifically, we've seen Trout go down with the back issue, Rendon with the wrist issue, Jared Walsh, of course, just had surgery this week, Michael Lorenzen with his shoulder, David Fletcher with his hips. Now, this article quoted one National League executive who said the training methods need to be revamped and hinted that maybe the college coaches need to adjust to professional baseball. So I thought that was interesting. And then you had a note on what Max Scherzer had to say about injuries in MLB.
He was hurt and was out, and they asked him about all the injuries, and he said it's an issue of bad mechanics. He said the way that players are throwing and catching and swinging are what's causing the body to break down. And he had an interesting note in that conversation, John. He said it had to do with the pandemic. So they played 60 games in 2020, right? And then it was delayed. They played some spring training, and then they obviously couldn't play. And then they started up. It was just 60 games. And he said the spring training games, although can be annoying for fans and players, he said it's so necessary because it helps you to get into the rhythm of throwing and catching and hitting. And they really didn't have that. And then even that season, they just kind of went out there and played. It'd be like you and I doing a pickup game, right? Playing basketball or softball or whatever. Nobody wants that. We're already terrible. And then we would be even more terrible. Maybe that's why I pulled something last time we played. But that's what he's talking about. He's saying that they really have to work on the mechanics of things, throwing, catching, swinging. So that brings up really interesting questions too, specifically, John, back to what you talked about. Should college coaches adjust how they prep players and use players to benefit Major League Baseball? What are your thoughts there?
You know, it's funny because you want to see players in college succeed as a coach. You want them to go on to MLB. The colleges want to see these players succeed because they love to tout that their alumni is this star or that star in Major League Baseball. It helps them to recruit young athletes who want to play college ball and sign them and get them to come play for their college team. But then it almost seems like once they're out of their hair, they're no longer their problem anymore. And so I imagine that colleges are not going to be prone to adjusting to how they prepare players for the benefit of Major League Baseball. But I think in the same vein that the goal obviously is to get them to MLB, and they seem to be able to do that just fine. But then do they succeed? Do they thrive? If they get hurt and they miss crucial years of their career or crucial months of the season where they're not contributing, then maybe they don't get the bragging rights of having a former an alumni playing in MLB. And so I think it would be to the college's benefit to change how they prepare these players for the majors. But at the same time, it's almost like, well, it's your problem now. Like, we got the best of them. We soaked that sponge, right? Yeah, you figure it out. We're doing just fine with the next guy. So but to be honest, Mike, I think it goes back further than that. It goes back to some of the way these kids who are coming up through little league and high school and rookie ball, like it goes all the way back to that. I know that a big concern is how much pitching that pitchers are throwing from a young age all the way up until adulthood, and how much it's affecting their arms. I mean, gosh, we were plagued with Tommy John surgeries all through the last decade. And man, who knows how far that goes back, but these kids are throwing their arms off at such a young level. And then by the time they get to college, some of them have already had a Tommy John, or some of them have had to get it while they're in college. And some of them get to the minors and have to have it because their arms are falling off. And so I really think that college ball does need to take better care of players. And then, of course, before that, high school, little league, all that stuff needs to, travel ball, they all need to take better care of these young kids who are playing really hard and at a very high level because they're playing a couple games a day and traveling with their parents and going all over the place. I mean, these are young kids they're not fully grown yet. And you have no idea how you can be affecting their development. So those are my thoughts on college, but even prior to college as well.
Yeah, I think Griffin Canning is a great example of what can
Mm-hmm.
happen in college versus Major League Baseball, right? Canning played for UCLA, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple of games where he threw, I think, 120, 130
Yeah.
pitches, and he was throwing deep into games. And the reality is that colleges will tell players as they recruit them, we want to get you to the big game, right? We want to get you
Mm-hmm.
to Major League Baseball. But I think the actual mission of college baseball specifically is to win. And those coaches
Mm-hmm.
want to win. They want to keep their
Right.
jobs and they want to put the banner up, right? And so I think that that's why they're going to continue to do what they do so that they can win. And if Griffin Canning needs to go 9 innings and throw 130 pitches, they're going to
Yeah.
make it happen, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of what he is dealing with right now has to do with what he's been through before. And here's the reality, John. If you're doing that on a regular basis and then you have to adjust that, your
Mm-hmm.
bodies don't adjust so quickly. That's why with Shohei, when they finally said, hey, go do your thing, and then you let us know when you need a day off, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because instead of trying to manage that, they don't know his body. They don't know how he feels, only
Yes.
by what he says to them. And in those moments, they actually were just making decisions without him actually getting to like give feedback and speak into that. And now we're seeing the results, at least last year and this year, of what happens when you trust the player and you allow them to control the narrative. I think that this actually is a great example of what needs to happen moving forward, is allowing the player to really speak honestly about where they're at. Trust has got to be really high, though, because you're going to have some players that are going to go, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting. And that's where you have to really be clear with them. Like, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to believe you, but I need you to be real with me. And if you're not real with me, then we're going to control this instead of you.
Absolutely. And then you think about the comments from Max Scherzer, and do you think the mechanics issue is why the Halos have struggled offensively this season? And I kind of have to wonder about that myself. And I really think that there's something to be said about the pandemic, because it was such a weird situation where they started, they stopped, they waited 2.5 months, and then they just picked it right up again. And even guys in the minor leagues didn't get a chance to play. And if you were on the 40 man, you were kind of playing against each other. It all just seemed kind of, oh, let's give it a try. But I'm not sure if it was monitored well. I'm not sure what the situation was. I do have to say the medical staff does seem in better control over what's going on with the Halos than they have in past years. Like I mentioned, with all the Tommy John stuff and the injury stuff. When I think about the injuries that have happened, I think about Trout. That just seems like wear and tear on a guy who just hit his 30s. I think about Taylor Ward running into the wall. And I also think about Fletch, who is always going hard in the field and giving his all as a shortstop or as a second baseman. So I can understand the wear and tear happening there, especially given the hip injury. I think, to me, this is more of an issue of pitchers and the way that they're throwing and the way that they're coming up and all of that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that one little issue that we've talked about often on this show, and that Angel fans have talked about as well, is when you talk about approach with these batters specifically. Think of Jared Walsh. I think that a part of when we talk about approach is that it's Jeremy Reed's job to say, hey, you're getting into the bad habit of wiggling your bat, or you're getting into the bad habit of dipping your shoulder. And if you do that more and more and more, you're going to actually hurt yourself really, really terribly. And I don't know if this injury is a result of wear and tear for Walsh or maybe bad mechanics, but I do think that if you're a coach on the team, that's the thing that you're looking for. And again, we've reinforced this often too. We've said, hey, it's not the job of the coach to make them better, right? It's just to help them to maintain their ability. And I think for somebody like Jeremy Reed, he's got to look and go, I really see that you're doing something here that's not going to be healthy for your future.
Well, Jared Walsh has dealt with the thoracic outlet syndrome before. He mentioned that. He said this is an issue he's had before. It's like, okay, well, where did that start?
Yeah.
Because that goes back to what we were saying is how these guys are coming up and how they're working their bodies through such a young age up until their mid-20s. Just the fact that he's dealing with this again, how did they not prevent it from happening again? Don't they know that this is in his history and it's something to watch out for? And so you're right. I think that it is the responsibility of the coaches to identify, hey, how did this happen to you before? How can we keep it from happening again?
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And we're all interested in what's going on with Angel ownership. As we know, Artie Moreno has said he's exploring what it looks like to sell this team, which is code for saying, I'm going to sell this team and I'm going to make a whole lot of money. And I already have some people in mind. But I love that they at least let us know. That's really appreciative, right? Because we haven't heard from him for a long time. And so, Johnny, here's a couple of rumors that got us pretty excited. The Golden State Warriors group was connected as potential buyers. Joe Lacob actually is somebody that is really been high on the list of people that has been interested in purchasing this team. And he was asked about it, the possibility of buying the Angels. And his answer was, I can't answer that question that fast. We always look for good opportunities. And so I was stoked about that answer because it wasn't a flat out, no, I'm not interested. That tells me he's very, very interested. And so here's a couple of notes on him. He actually helped the Warriors sustain their dominance in recent years. If you're a basketball fan, you know about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and they've won 4 championships and have looked really, really
in
great.
Like 8 years.
Yeah. Including the most recent championship. And they have one of the most expensive rosters in NBA history. And Lacob has actually been the guy that's helped finance that. And baseball was something that he expressed interest in for years. And so my opinion, Johnny, is that his ties with California and with the Angels make sense. In fact, when he was interviewed, he said, I became an Angel fan and worked at Anaheim Stadium for 7 years as a peanut vendor. Like he just started as one of the guys that was hanging out there. And so this interview was in the San Francisco Chronicle. He said he was interested also in buying the A's, but of course, John Fisher has said that the team's not for sale, which all A's fans go, oh, come on.
Boo.
Right. And
no kidding.
Get this, Johnny, he actually looked into buying the Angels when Disney put them up for sale.
Oh, I didn't know that.
2002. Yeah.
Wow.
And his co-owner with the Warriors, Peter Guber, is a partner with the Dodgers ownership. And so we've seen what they've done with the Dodgers. Also, another interesting nugget. Did you know Frank McCourt was actually a part of those that bid for the Angels in 2002 as well? I know. We really dodged a bullet there.
Angels would have been Angels would have been financing his wife's shoes or something. Good grief.
Artie doesn't look so bad now, does he?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
John, there was another name that I actually was really excited about. You were really excited about. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, Rams owner Stan Kroenke, baby.
Yeah.
Now, look, you and I are lifelong 49er fans. We're sorry to any Angel fans that we've disappointed who love the Rams, but lifelong, it runs deep. Just like our love of the Angels, it runs deep for the Niners. But I will say, I would not mind if the Angels were owned by the Rams and Stan Kroenke. He was actually a runner-up bidding for the Dodgers in 2012. He's rumored to be interested. Some people think that he could kind of develop around Angel Stadium in the same way that he did with SoFi Stadium. I mean,
that'd be awesome.
Mike, you've been to SoFi, right? How incredible is that stadium?
It is a great stadium, and it's one of those stadiums that you're just in awe when you walk in. And I mean, it has all the technological upgrades. It has everything that you could want at a stadium. The only thing that it doesn't have, Johnny, is great signage. You get lost really, really easy around that place. Like, where's the bathroom? There's not signs for that, or maybe I was just dumb and really excited about the game, but the signage was terrible. But the area around there, they're building that up. And they have a ton of really great restaurants, and they have a ton of their system there is great. They've got like that circular box where you can like watch the game on it. I'm blanking on the name of that, but like the Jumbotron, that's what it is. They have one of those things. I mean, this place is immaculate, and Kroenke was the one that was leading the way on a lot of that.
And I love two things that I really love. They went out and got the quarterback they needed last season.
Yep.
And got to the Super Bowl, and they made a winning move, right?
Yep.
And the second thing I love is that you had this breakout season from Cooper Kupp, and what did they do? They gave him the contract he deserved. They extended him and made sure that he's going to be part of this team for years to come. So just some great moves, some great football winning minded moves, and that's the kind of attitude I think that we could use with the Angels, is to sign the right pieces. They went out and got the right person for the job at quarterback. They saw how well one of their players was performing, and said, okay, we got to lock that guy up. Let's do it. I love how quick these decisions were. And I remember everybody talking about how, like, I can't believe they traded their quarterback and everything. And look how it turned out. I mean, gosh, that was one of the best storylines of last season, was just seeing how that all worked out for them. When they asked him about his interest, the representative for Kroenke declined to comment. But something tells me that if you're interested in the Dodgers, the next best thing in terms of availability is the Angels. And I know they always say the LA market. The truth is the Angels expand beyond Anaheim and Orange County. They reach into the Inland Empire where you are. I get Angel games out here in Los Angeles County. So everything in between. Riverside County has a huge Angel fan base.
There's a big market.
Really, it's a huge market, and there's a ton of people. And I think that any ownership group would be interested in taking the reins over in Anaheim. But Mike, out of Lacob and Stan Kroenke, who do you think should take over this team?
I'm going to lean in the direction of Kroenke just because he's a Southern California guy and because of what he has done with the Rams, because the Rams weren't that great of a team. And then they left and went to St. Louis and won a Super Bowl, right? And then they were struggling. Then he moved them back, and he's really invested. The only issue I think that could be with Kroenke is that he wants to make sure that he owns the property and he's able to build around, kind of like what Artie wants to do. And so this is a note to the city of Anaheim: get it together, because you're going to get somebody that really wants this team, and no more backdoor deals and no more, scratching your back, I'll scratch mine. Let's do everything. Let's put our big boy and big girl pants on, and let's be adults with integrity and with character, so that we can get a great owner, so that we can start winning in Anaheim again. So I'm going to lean in Stan Kroenke's direction.
I like Lacob just because of what he's been able to do for the Warriors. I mean, good grief. I mean, for the longest time, who were the Warriors?
Right.
now they're in every playoff run. They are the players that get talked about the most, and Steph Curry and everybody there, and to win 4 times in 8 years is just incredible. So he's got a winning mindset. I love that he's already shown interest, and I love his connection with the team. He could do some really great things, especially being connected to Anaheim, being connected to the Angels. I really love that. One more note, Mike. There's a group from Japan that's also interested. So you and I are going to do a little research and work to dig up the info that we need. I remember reading an article about somebody on YouTube, I believe, brought up a name, and I researched it. A young entrepreneur kind of guy from Japan might be interested in a baseball team. So we'll certainly research that and get back to all of those who are listening to Locked On Angels with more information. More to come on Locked On Angels.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022. It's an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season. The local team experts from Locked On, plus the betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one Ultimate NFL Preview. You can search for this Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure to catch us on Twitter at Locked On Angels. If you're not following us already, we'd love to get your follows so you can stay up to date with everything Angels and the podcast and much more. And of course, you can get us at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, we have an interesting episode tomorrow. We aren't going to do a recap of the game. We'll recap the entire series the following day with the Tigers. But what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
We're going to talk about ownership. We're going to talk about Gene Autry, of course. He was the Angels' first owner. We're going to talk about if he was successful or not, if you would consider him successful or not. Was he a good owner? We're also going to talk about how much the Angels might sell for and how fast this transition could actually happen. So a lot to cover tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation. Very informational. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And thanks for joining us for Locked On Angels, and we'll see you tomorrow.